Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hashim with US Arab Radio. We're going to change to a different topic. The state approved a new set of firearm laws, and among other laws as well, that could affect you, specifically if you own firearms at home and you have children. Also, if you're driving as well. Um, with us this morning is Lieutenant Mike Shaw of the State Police. To help us understand the changes. Good morning, Lieutenant, and thank you for being with us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So what do we have? I think they took the new laws taking effect this week.
Correct. The new safe storage law is taking effect on February 13th, so that's Tuesday.
Okay.
When it actually it takes effect, and people can be charged with a crime if they violate that particular law.
Okay. What's the law and why do we have that change?
Yep. So one of the things that we're seeing, especially in metro areas, and it's not just here in Michigan or Detroit or, it's across the country, is kids getting a hold of unattended firearms, and then somebody, either the child themselves that got a hold of the firearm, or one of their brothers or sisters or friends end up getting shot with that firearm. So what this safe storage law does, first of all, we want to make sure everybody knows that the police are not going to come knocking on your door to check to see if your gun's locked up. So this law only comes into effect, and it's more of a prosecutorial tool than it is for actual police enforcement. Is if a child gets a hold of the gun and then somebody gets injured or harmed as a result of that, you can be charged with not storing it. But what we're hoping is that people realize gun ownership is a great responsibility. And we're not saying that you shouldn't own a gun or you can't own a gun or anything like that. What we're just saying is if you have a gun in your home, realize that kids know where it is. We all know, or we all think that, we're all good hiders. And we all
Sure.
know during holiday season when we buy gifts for our kids and stick them away where they don't find them, they usually find them anyways, right?
That's
So
true.
and the same goes with firearms. Kids are curious and they want to know where it is, and they can find them. So get a safe, just lock them up in that safe and you're covered. If you can't afford a safe, you can get what's called a cable lock. And what it does is it looks like a padlock, basically. It's got like a long looping end, goes
Hmm.
inside the barrel, through the chamber, out the magazine well, and then locks. You can get one of those as well. And if you don't have one, here in the Metro Detroit area, you can stop by either state police post, the one in Taylor or the one in Oak Park. Let me turn this down real quick. Taylor or Oak Park. And we have free ones. You can stop
Okay.
by. You don't have to say anything as far as how many you got. If you walk in and say, I need 5 gun locks, we're going to hand them to you and send you on your way. So those are available as well. You can also check with your local police department. A lot of local police departments also have those gun locks that usually are free for charge, and you just come by and pick them up. And that's what we want people to do, is go ahead and lock those guns up, and make sure those kids don't end up hurting themselves or somebody else with that unattended firearm.
Absolutely. And if it is in a safe, it needs to be locked as well.
Correct. Yep. So if it's in the safe, just lock it up. And because if you put it in there and the safe's not locked, and we all think, oh well, if I lock it up, now I got to remember the combination.
Combination, yeah.
Well, that's the whole idea, right? Is that
Yeah.
you keep it locked up so it has a combination. There's so many different gun safes out there. Some use fingerprints, some use different, if you push down this finger and that finger. So there's a lot of them out there. If you're concerned that you can't get to your firearm in time, if you need it for protection, there's a lot of resources out there. Just lock up your gun.
Yeah. For shotguns, is it sufficient? Because for shotguns, they have like a small device you put around the trigger chamber, and that kind of locks it up. Is that sufficient?
That is sufficient as well. So if you have a long gun like that,
Yeah.
you're using that type of trigger lock, with it has like a key to it. That works out as well. There's a lot of people now that have pretty good sized gun safes that they keep those long guns in there along with their handguns as well, to keep them locked up and away from those kids.
Absolutely. And because kids are curious, I don't care what
Absolutely.
you say. If they're
Yep.
gonna find it, they're gonna play with it. What other laws are being enacted right now that we need to know about?
So I think people are concerned a little bit, not maybe concerned, but are wondering about these extreme risk protection orders or the red flag law. That takes effect tomorrow as well. And basically what that is if a first responder like a fire or like a police officer, a family member, somebody in a dating relationship thinks that you may be a danger to yourself or somebody else, they can actually file a petition with the court to have you surrender your firearms over to either that local police department or to a federal firearms dealer. You can also release them to them as well. Some of the research we've done on this law is a lot of people are already, if they are affected by this law, and there's not a lot that are, a lot of them are voluntarily complying with this law. If they get a court order to turn over their firearms, that they do so on their own. There's no real police involvement. There can be, if you decide that you're not going to go by this order, the police can become involved and come actually get a search warrant to go into your house and take those firearms. But naturally, with any law, from speeding to anything else, we always hope that voluntary compliance is the way to go. And then go to court and you get your day in court to just explain to that judge while that person may be not right about your mental status, or maybe they are, and maybe that'll get you the time to get some type of help. That way, after that year, you can get your firearms back and not have to worry about it.
Absolutely. And again, for our listeners to understand that these laws are not meant to take away your guns. They're just meant to make gun ownership more responsible.
Absolutely. And we find that too. I mean, our loved ones know most, right? They can kind of tell when our personalities have changed and we might become a danger to ourselves. And we know that, suicide is the number one, thing that we see with firearm deaths is suicide. So if somebody is in that mental space, or that this is an opportunity for that loved one to say, hey, maybe we need to do something, and maybe that person isn't willing to help out, or isn't thinking that something is wrong, and this gives those loved ones an opportunity to kind of take those guns and get them in a secure spot until they can get that help they need.
Absolutely. And lastly, the cell phone, the hands-free, is that
Yep.
what's called?
Yep, hands-free law. So about 6 months ago, that law went into effect, and basically what it says, kind of backing up a little bit, we used to have a texting and driving law. And what it said is you couldn't text on your phone while you were driving. But the law was pretty narrow in effect. And basically, most judges, or when you went to court, they said if you can't prove somebody's texting, you can't enforce that law. So it almost became that it was irrelevant, right? And you don't have to be a cop or anybody else to drive down the road and you see everybody's got something in their hand, right? Everybody's got
Sure.
one, and it's
Sure.
always in their hand. So what this one does is says that you actually cannot hold your phone in your hand. You either have to use the Bluetooth in your car, or else you can get one of those holders that go into your dashboard or into your glove box to kind of hold it up there. That way you can talk to your cell phone or talk to the Bluetooth if you're answering text messages. Now, the law doesn't say it, but we all know that if you get too hooked into that phone, either hands-free or not, you're not paying attention to what you're really supposed to be doing in the car, and that's driving. But this is now a tool to where if a police officer is driving down the road and they see you with that phone in your hand, they can automatically pull you over that, and then you're going to have a conversation with that officer. And depending on how that conversation goes, you can either get a warning or a ticket for it.
What's the penalty for that?
So it depends on what court it is and what fines that things are attached. But right now it's a civil infraction. So it's not a misdemeanor, but it's a civil infraction. It doesn't have any points or anything on your license. But it does carry, and fines for this will probably get in there. It'll probably get to about $150, $200 by the time you're all said and done. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of it's a little reminder on the wallet there that maybe you should think about. And again, it's about compliance with any law.
Sure.
We
Sure.
would prefer that people just don't use their cell phone, because it's a smart thing to do, right? You're putting
It
your
is.
own life at risk. You're putting others' lives at risk by using your cell phone, and we all know it. I mean, I've got two cell phones, right? I got one that my wife calls me on to tell me what to do, and then I got the other one from work where they call me and tell me what to do. So if I can put either one of those phones away in the glove box for a little bit, I think we're all better off. So
Sure.
just put that phone away, and when you're driving, don't pay attention to those bings and bongs, and then once you get out, go ahead and see what the boss wants you to do next.
I think we have enough distractions on the road, so we don't need more. And technology today allows you to do a lot without touching your phone, you know.
It does. And I think the biggest thing that people worry about is GPS, right? They're like, well, how am I supposed to go from point A to point B without being able to use my GPS? And one way is if you have Bluetooth technology in your phone, you can actually talk to your phone and tell you where to go, right? If
Exactly,
you don't,
exactly.
and it's got the old system where you don't have a Bluetooth in your car, then just program it before you leave, before you put it into drive or in reverse. Set your radio station, set your GPS to where you know where you're going to go. Make sure that you have the volume up so you can hear it talking to you back and forth and where your turn is, and it'll work just fine for you.
Anything else I haven't asked you that people need to know?
No, I think that's it. We just, again, voluntary compliance is the best thing. Make sure that you do get those gun locks. They're free. There's no reason not to do that. And hopefully these laws will help keep our kids safe and reduce some of these accidents we're seeing. And then also, keeping that phone out of your hand is a pretty big deal. If you can manage to do that, your drive will be a lot safer.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Shaw. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
We're going to take a short break. Please stay tuned.